Sorry about the sounds in the background. I live near a road and there's some guy across it who's just suddenly, just this moment, started to decide to cut grass with a strimmer or something. I didn't get hardly any sleep last night because I was trying to do some video editing at like 1 AM or something. And then my frigging notifications on my phone are tied to Twitter. And so my phone starts bleeping over and over and over again, and I'm like, fuck this, I want to get my editing done for my video thing. And ended up taking like 3 hours longer than the normal edit would take. And it was like morning and there was daylight coming out because of this Twitter notification thing. I should have found out the option on my phone to turn off the sound temporarily. Cause I was getting dogpiled on Twitter for a random comment I made, just like any other comment I would have posted on Twitter. But for some reason, it got retweeted. It must have got retweeted by some influential popular person along the lines, and I didn't spot which person that was. So whatever. Anyway, I was like, I retweet responded to an article. Like I didn't post a comment on the article, so it's extra bizarre that the tweet even blew up like that. And it was just about a Star Wars film that's coming out that I'm not gonna watch. You know, one of these new Disney Star Wars films. I watched The Force Awakens, and I've got my review of that on here, and I even watched Rogue One, and there are some bits about it that were okay, but mostly, I mean, I was against it before I watched it because obviously it's overwriting the actual Star Wars that, as far as I'm concerned, is the real timeline to write this new Disney canon. And even the prequels were a bit annoying, taking away from the original trilogy and the expanded universe canon, which has now been like branded as some thing we're meant to ignore, even though that's what most people who like Star Wars grew up with. And the games, obviously, a lot of the games from LucasArts were based in the EU. Not that one, the expanded universe of the Star Wars universe. I knew I was going to repeat myself there. Yeah, so I've had hardly any sleep tonight because the editing took so long, and I couldn't pull myself away from looking to see what my phone was bleeping about. And it just turned out it was like, I got like 400 likes on the post. I mean, I didn't even care about this post. I'm not used to thousands of people swarming on to see what I'm saying. And I think once it reaches a critical mass of popularity, like everyone jumps on it and they've all got an opinion, and it's and everyone takes the first post you've written or the first 3 posts you've written as absolute gospel, even though it's like Twitter has character limits, so it's definitely not a platform to be able to properly explain yourself on, because there's just not enough words to get context and detail and understanding through to another person. It's too short. It's just not enough text needed to fully outline a concept. And so the tweet was something, alright, so there's a new Star Wars film coming out, like Solo. I don't know why they're making it. Anyway, it's another one of these things, and I don't like the direction they're going with it. It's terrible. I didn't watch The Last Jedi. First I watched thousands of reviews on it because I thought, hey, the reviews are going to be more entertaining than the film, so I'll watch all the reviews. And they were like universally panning the film and explaining why, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna see that one. I didn't like The Force Awakens and Rogue One because they obviously parted with what Star Wars is, so I knew I wasn't gonna really like any other Star Wars films that came along, so I decided I'm not going to watch this one, so I watch all the reviews. And I watched this cut on YouTube where they'd supposedly removed all the stuff that was too SJW. And I watched that, and it was still bad. Even though they cut out all the stuff. So I basically seen all the stuff in the film that was supposedly good, and it's bad. So yeah, I'm not going to watch any of these new Star Wars films anymore. I don't watch any of the new Marvel films after, I think it was like Avengers 2 I stopped. Because it's just like, what am I watching? Just like really bad social justice humour with friggin' terrible editing and pacing, and just hordes of CGI and loud bashing and crashing, and things hitting each other, like, I don't know. And it doesn't even remind me of the Marvel related things that I used to watch in the 90s. I've got a review on my channel of Spider-Man, the animated series. The old Blade movies, particularly Blade 2, were really excellent. And it doesn't seem like that now. I think the last one of the new... I mean, I liked Deadpool, but I don't know if is that part of the MCU, whatever they're calling it, the Marvel mainstream thing. They buy different studios so they can do different things with it. That was alright. I quite liked the Deadpool film when it came out. I don't know if I watched the new one or not, though. I think it has a potential to be good, but I think social justice is too pervasive in cinemas right now, and also filmmakers in general can't make good films these days. It's very difficult to find one. I was just cringing at the new Predator trailer the other day, just going, really? This is the direction you want to take it? Really? I'll stick to the first film, to be honest. Anyway, the tweet was about the new Solo film. Some article was posting a tweet out, I guess in extreme SJW territory on Twitter, because I've never seen the reaction that I'd seen in other places, saying about the new Solo film, we're going to make Lando a pansexual character. And I was just like, I think one of the reasons the tweet blew up was it was in all caps at first, so I sounded like I was being angry, and I wasn't being angry. I was just like mocking it, to be honest. Like, I was like, sigh, seriously, don't put sexuality into a Star Wars film. Come on, kids, watch this. And then as a thread, I put a couple more responses in addition to that, and I retweeted the article that said, Solo is a pansexual character in Disney Star Wars, and I said, like, pansexual isn't a thing, I believe, and a lot of people I follow and talk to believe this also. There is sexualities to do with the two biological sexes. So you've got the biological sexes, male and female, and if you're trans, you're still male or female, depending on what you have chosen to transition to. Based on these biological sexes, male can date or have sex with a male can date a female can date a female, or an individual who is either male or female can say, like, I'm not interested in sex, I'm not interested in dating, and based on that, I said, okay, so the sexualities based on biological sexes will be straight, gay, bisexual, and then I added the further tweet saying, there's also asexual, but that's just a label. I would accept asexual. And a lot of people jumped on me saying that, like, you would accept it? Who's saying, like, who are you to be the arbiter of acceptance? And like, all this stupid nonsense. I said I'd accept asexual as a term. And people were also taking that as me saying, asexuals don't exist. Like, what? Like, they thought I was saying, like, people who don't want to have sex, or don't like sex, don't exist. Like, come on. That's not what I was saying at all. I said you could argue that asexual is a sexuality, although it doesn't have to be branded as a sexuality because it could be just I'm not bothered about sex, and that was my thread basically. That was me responding, just a casual, I don't agree with this dumb direction Star Wars is taking. Also, I'm anti-SJW, so all this stuff is just the stuff I've been fighting for frigging years, since it went crazy in 2014, basically. End of 2014, start of 2015, it went crazy. It was already underway in 2009. I just hadn't noticed it at that time. So past few years, I mean, everyone on my side of the pond has just been fighting against it, and it's still relevant. What the feminists are doing, what the far left are doing, what the SJWs are doing, whatever you want to call them. They're out there doing things that harm people and trying to take away freedoms, and they're trying to imprison people and control people's speech, control people to do things. They're trying to give people sentences. Okay, so Count Dankula didn't go to jail. I don't think that's going to be the end of it. I think if Dank doesn't fight this with his court appeal he's doing, someone will go to jail for joking on the internet. I think part of the reason he's escaped it is his sheer popularity as he's grown. He's got the backing of thousands of people who quite rightly support him and want to fund him. But there are people who are less popular who might do the same thing tomorrow, and if they're obscure and no one notices in time to give them the support they need, then they'll go to jail like Dank would have, because there isn't the media hype and sensation behind it to protect them. So yeah, standard film critique, standard news critique, standard SJW critique is all it was, and I haven't been saying anything different from what I've always been saying, and I haven't been saying anything different from what Dankula is saying, Jordan Peterson saying, Sargon is saying. These are so the SJW dogpiled it. I just get all these friggin' notifications on my phone, like, what the fuck? I don't need popularity and stuff for a casual comment. And it's weird how stressing and addicting it is. Like, there's my phone, I'm trying to edit, there's my phone. Really? Okay, let's go and see what people are talking about. And then you scroll down and people... there were some people who had sensible things to say, but then there's just some standard SJWs who stress you the fuck out because they're like, no, what you're doing is wrong, you don't have the right. Like, Jesus Christ, the UK is going down a horrible path at the moment, but free speech is very important, and we are trying to preserve that right now. And at the same time, it's like, what do they mean? Well, they're angry because they believe in gender. They believe in, like, I don't know the number, 46 genders, 76 genders. All you have to do is watch what Jordan Peterson's doing, and that stuff is debunked straight away. You can name yourself what you want. And I don't agree with controlling people, because that's a far left thing. So I wasn't at all saying we should control people to not watch the film, or control children to not see the film, or control the filmmakers not to do the thing with the character they've made, or whatever. It's like, it's fine, I don't care, it's fiction, it's just bad fiction, And people were taking it like, this film really needs to mirror real life identically. I'm like, it's Star Wars, it's a sci-fi fantasy about people who have electricity that comes out their hands, and they can move objects with their mind, and they live in space together. And there are people like going, oh, the Empire are an exact mirror of Nazism. I'm like, what? Well, I can see slight parallels there with the imagery and things. I mean, yeah, you got the helmets, and you got the people all in homogeneous uniforms, police state, black and grey and stuff. But it diverges pretty sharply afterwards, and it's something where kids can enjoy rooting for the bad guy. Kids like Darth Vader, kids like TIE fighter pilots, kids like all the material that the Empire's got and stuff, and it's. I mean, it's in space. We don't have an Empire that's in space. There are no parallels to be drawn with real life. I mean, you can take some morals of the story out if you want to, but in reality, this is fantasy fiction, and it shouldn't be some kind of commentary on modern 2018 current year life. I just find that hilarious, and they're trying to. It's like, okay, another parallel with the Empire being like space Nazis is, they don't often, because there's Thrawn and stuff, but they don't let aliens in their organization, and that's their racism. And when I say aliens, you're not meant to think illegal immigrants, because that's not what it is. It's actual literal space animals that have evolved to have a civilization and an ability to talk, you know. And you could argue that there's some kind of pansexuality in that, because in real life the SJWs want to believe that genders are a real thing. Like, they're not, they're just identity politics. It's an identity. A gender's not a real thing, it's just something you choose to call yourself. It's very similar to a fashion. You can watch John Peterson, I think he says the same thing. Did he say it in his interview on Channel 4 as well? So, I think he might have said something. I mean, he said it in other places anyway. And he's right. I mean, it's not to do, it's sexuality. People are trying to make sexualities not to do with the biological sexes. So, biological sexes, male, female, sexualities that I believe in is straight, gay, bisexual, not wanting sex, whatever you want to call it, asexual, fine. And then if you come along and you go, oh, there's cloud gender though, don't forget cloud gender, like, is a gender, it's not a biological sex. I mean, what? And so they make a sexuality based on these things they've invented called genders, and pansexual is a sexuality based on a gender, not a biological sex. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. And so where did I leave off? The point is, if there's genders, like, to me, are a fictional thing in the real world. So if there are different races, it's not races, species in a Star Wars film, which is a fantasy fiction universe, if the writers wrote it in that for some reason these fake humans, I believe the humans, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe the humans in Star Wars are kind of an alien as well, and it's not there's no connection with Earth. Despite the a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away heading, I think Star Wars tried as much as possible to completely cut ties with being in the same universe as Earth, and so that line could be from the perspective of someone living in that universe, and therefore the humans are not humans. The humans are a kind of alien. I think in the books I've heard them referred to as stock humans, and the language isn't English, it's basic, like speak basic, which is kind of cool. I like that. And there are aliens, obviously. So as a fantasy writer, you could, in fact, write it in, however gross it may be, because it makes you think of bestiality or something, that these human aliens are an alien that's removed from us, different from us, and they can have sex with the aliens, or an alien having sex with an alien. And in that sense, those could be like a form of genders, because they're these fictional differences. But I guess in that world, I'd see them more as factual, so it would be like animals. Like, you couldn't do that. I mean, there'd be no parallels to draw with the real world, because it'd be like the differences between different species on Earth. You can't really interbreed. It's a horrifying prospect. And just like that, I'd think of that in Star Wars, but I've seen things like on DeviantArt and stuff where people are pairing aliens with humans in Mass Effect or whatever and going, yeah, these can fuck. Don't worry, it's fiction. So I guess, you know, you could write it in, however far-fetched. I mean, it's fantasy fiction. You could write it in that aliens and humans in Star Wars have sex, and that is a form of pansexuality, which is what I'm getting to. And that's so... I mean, it's so far-fetched, and you have to do just so much mental gymnastics to even make it a thing, make it work. So this is what people were getting hung up on and just flaming me for. And I was like, oh no, I can't be fucked with this. And there were like 400 likes of people supporting me, but they weren't like vocal people. It's always the SJWs who are the vocal ones. And so I was commenting with some of them, and I was just like going around in circles, because like an anti-SJW telling an SJW what they think is just gonna lead to a disagreement barrier. You know, what's it, the immovable object versus the unstoppable force? There's something coming in this side that disagrees with something there, and are they gonna persuade each other? I don't think so. Certainly not on Twitter. It was like weird, because I've never been at the centre of one of these dogpiling things. I've always watched them from afar, happening to the more famous YouTubers and stuff. I think I first saw it happen with people like Alex Day and all those early YouTubers. And now I see it happening with like all the like free speech advocates on YouTube. But they're like... I mean, they're extroverted. I think they can handle stuff like this a lot better than I can. I'm an introvert. I'm a shy person. I don't really want the attention because I don't care for it. So it's just like I'm saying the same things as a lot of people have said, but for some reason, whoever retweeted me was popular in the social justice sphere. And so all these crazy screeching activists just come out at you, and I just had enough of it, to be honest. No one cares for context, no one cares for you explaining yourself, and of course every time I explained what I meant to one person in detail in the comments underneath, away from the main thread that they were responding to, you almost reach an understanding with that person. Of course there's like 5 other people just going bing, hi, and they're all responding to the first short posts as if that's the solid encapsulated thought, and obviously they're going to ignore the filled in explanation and details that I've given to one random person within that thread. They're just going to go, I'm going to respond to this again. I'm like, would you scroll down and read other people's conversations? Then I wouldn't have to explain myself in the same way multiple times. I just thought, why am I responding to this at all? Twitter is like this engineered social outrage machine. I can't believe there are people in the world who take this stuff seriously. First of all, you're talking about fiction in movies and stuff and trying to make it out to be reality and corresponding to the real world systems. And then in reality, in real life, you are creating a fiction about the world and calling that reality as well. So there's 2 different levels of fiction going on, and everyone's getting outraged about it. I'm like, do what you want, you know. I have no power to control people to do things, nor do I want to, because I believe in liberal values, you know, actual liberal values, not far left values, classical liberal values. Yeah. Just the fact that these people won't even chat to a conservative or something, even though they disagree with them, and stuff like that. They're just screeching about fiction as if it's reality all the time. It just drives me nuts. Anyway, had enough of Twitter for now. I'm not interested in Solo. As far as I'm concerned, Mara Jade is Luke Skywalker's wife. Kyle Katarn defeated Jarek. Nera E. Salamiri's Thrawn didn't do whatever he did in that cartoon series. He only did what he did in the books by Timothy Zahn, the earlier books by Timothy Zahn, because I hear he's gone back and fallen into the Disney sphere. Why? You're welcome to disagree, and that's fine.